What's going on, everybody? This is Marcus. Before I get started, I want to thank you guys so much for your support. It really means everything to me. You guys mean so much to me. So thank you for your support and thank you for everything. For those who are new to my channel and for those who are seeing it for the first time, make sure you like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications whenever I drop a video. And we're going to always keep this thing rolling. So, film theory. We're actually going to do a film theory today. It's actually going to be about Ant-Man and Quantumania. So, film theory is usually pretty legit when it comes to like them coming up with different theories of what's going to happen. And then considering the fact that film theory is usually accurate in most cases, and then on top of that, with just what happened in Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, with the next lineup of phases for Phase 5 and Phase 6, especially with Phase 6 being Avengers the Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars, I'm not going to be surprised. It's definitely going to be a big event too, because Infinity War and Endgame pretty much changed the game, so to speak. So I would not be surprised of what's going to happen and what's going to take place in Ant-Man and Quantumania with Kang the Conqueror showing up. So there's going to be at least two villains for sure. So it's going to be MODOK and Kang the Conqueror's appearance in Ant-Man and Quantumania. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. So, but without further ado, we're going to go ahead and do the film theory. And of course, the main topic is going to be Ant-Man will die, apparently. So, I like Paul Rudd, too, as playing Scott Lang. So, we'll see what's going to happen. But apparently, there's a photo of Ant-Man's helmet broken to pieces. So, I'm not for sure if they're going to use that for the theatrical trailer, for the theatrical poster. But we'll see how that goes. But it's out there, though. So, we'll see once the film starts coming closer. Because it's coming out in February anyway. So, it's going to be intriguing to say the least. But without further ado, we're going to listen to film theory and talk about the theories of what's going to happen with Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Quantumania. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Let's just cut to the chase, friends. While the rest of the world is getting ready to see Black Panther Wakanda Forever in a few months, I've got my eyes set to the movie right after it, Ant-Man Quantumania. Why should I care about the third movie in the Ant-Man trilogy? Oh, because that's where Ant-Man is gonna die, and I'm about to prove it to you.
Oh my gosh, no.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, where the smallest details transform into huge pieces of evidence. Case in point, today's episode. You see, even before this year's Comic-Con, it'd been pretty well established that Kang the Conqueror was going to be the MCU's next Thanos-level overarching threat. There's been no shortage of articles and interviews confirming that when it comes to Marvel, this is the guy that you're going to need to watch out for. And now that the next Avengers movie is straight up called the Kang Dynasty, forget about it. Case closed. So far, we've only gotten our first tease of Kang in the MCU as this big, overexcited exposition dump during the final episode of Loki. But in the comics, he's actually a multiversal warmonger, a guy who lives with the unlimited lives cheat code on. Not only does Kang have infinite violent variants floating around the infinite timelines, Kang's future technology is so advanced that he's able to transfer his consciousness to a new body at the moment of his death. The dude's like Rick Sanchez minus the existential apathy. And don't get me wrong, a citadel of Ricks versus Avengers showdown is certainly interesting in theory, but it ultimately might ring hollow if there's no stakes behind it. Thanos wasn't just an era-defining villain because he was powerful. If we learned anything from that galaxy-brained Grimace, a box office mega-villain needs to earn their place by altering the status quo drastically. They need to prove that they're an existential threat to our favorite plot-armored heroes. They need to make our blood boil with the rage of revenge and the fear of loss. In short, someone's gotta get dusted. Kang has to prove himself as the next major threat by killing off a beloved hero. And that hero is gonna be Ant-Man. Yep, I predict that Ant-Man, in the final movie of his trilogy, is gonna get exterminated like a bug. Which, you know, it's fitting. First, let's start things off by examining the general story structure of the MCU.
No, you can't get to the end until you've been changed by the journey.
Thanks for that, Kang. See, this guy knows what he's talking about. No, I mean absolutely no disrespect to Stan Lee stands by saying this, but the MCU runs on some pretty tried and true story formulas. At this point, I think it's pretty fair to say that we're all at least vaguely familiar with the narrative beats of the iconic hero's journey. Call to adventure, find a mentor, death, and rebirth that results in some sort of a transformation, atonement, and then returning back to the beginning, changed as a result. Classic stuff been done to death. But exactly like that, overarching end bosses hit key beats in their stories as well. You can certainly see the pattern in self-contained stories, but it's especially apparent when you start looking at memorable big baddies of epic adventure franchises. First, the big villain appears in a film technique that Steven Spielberg likes to call the fraction introduction. This is where the audience is teased about the mystery surrounding this new character. For Thanos, this fraction tease came as his cameo at the end of the first Avengers film, pegging him as the true mastermind behind Loki's Chitauri invasion. Harry Potter had evil Lord Voldemort appearing as just a face on the back of Professor Quirrell's head at the end of the first movie. Showing the big boss as the motivating force for a lesser antagonist is a common trope that's used to express this particular plot point. Think of Fire Lord Ozai's silhouette ordering Zuko to hunt down the Avatar, or Grand Moff Tarkin name-dropping the Emperor in A New Hope.
I've just received word that the Emperor has dissolved the Council permanently.
Implying that even Darth Vader answers to someone higher up on the food chain.
Yeah, Palpatine, of course.
We're given a taste of the villain's true power. It's common for writers to give us hints of this through the use of specific story beats known as pinch points. These pinch points are moments that amp up the narrative tension by putting our heroes in a jam through increasing doses of the villain's intensifying presence. Traditionally, there are two major pinch points that happen on opposite ends of a story's second act. The first is usually early in Act 2, and it's just a simple reminder of the villain's strength. The second foreshadows the biggest complication that the villain will throw at our heroes. Oftentimes, an important character gets killed in the process. In Harry Potter, the first key pinch showcasing the threat of Voldemort is the death of Cedric Diggory in Goblet of Fire. The second pinch point comes when Dumbledore himself is killed off in movie 6, right before the final push towards the end battle. For the Infinity Saga, Thanos' first pinch point comes when he enlists Ronan the Accuser to get the Power Stone in Guardians of the Galaxy. Through Ronan, we are given the glimpse of the destruction that'll spread throughout the universe as Thanos completes his rock collection. The second pinch point is at the start of Infinity War, when Thanos decimates the Asgardians, boxes the previously unbeatable Hulk into retirement, and drives home that even the slippery Loki can't escape his inevitability. Loki's death is the linchpin of the pinch point. Without it, the stakes wouldn't be high enough for the audience to care. In one scene, Thanos decimates what have otherwise been indestructible heroes, giving us a sense of the real threat that he poses. Which brings us then to their moment of victory. After years of scheming in the shadows, the villain finally achieves their goal. When it comes to sprawling franchise-level narratives, this moment often happens in the second-to-last installment, leaving us on a cliffhanger so that both fans and heroes have to sit through their darkest hour for years waiting for resolution. Just think about the king of this trope, Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, where Han ends the movie as a big ol' ice cube and Luke loses a hand. For the Infinity Saga, this moment is when Thanos bests Earth's mightiest heroes and dusts half the universe. This structure achieves two purposes. First, it underlines the strength of the threat, but more importantly, it turns our heroes into underdogs. It's not certain whether or not they'll be able to prevail. The next installment then means that the heroes have to win back every inch of the world that they wish to fix, ultimately making the climactic battle feel that much more earned. So those are your lessons from the screenplay. And
so I'm actually kind of worried about this because, kind of think of it, like the way he's explaining it, that's probably what's going to happen in Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania. Like somehow, some way, someone's going to get eradicated, someone's going to get dusted, and this is actually pretty accurate. Like, oh my gosh, like pretty much, I mean, all of the stories practically does make sense because the villain's true motive is that he or she has to be a major threat, and so they have to be a major threat to the protagonist. So it's like you have to actually at least be a potential threat to the hero, him or herself. And so considering that Kang is going to be the next level threat next to Thanos, I mean, Kang, of course, is a warmongering time traveler who wants to conquer time in general. And then you have incursions as well, so you get to think about just stuff like this. And then the other villains like Darth Vader and Voldemort, like pretty much they're all hidden in the shadows to be waiting to strike at the right precision time. So this is gonna be, man, this is gonna be insane though.
According to this time-tested story formula, we can look at Kang's confirmed appearances in the MCU to deduce how he might be similarly utilized across multiple movies in order to truly rise to the role of the next big bad. Right now, we've seen Kang's first teaser moment in the Season 1 Loki finale, and boy, was that a journey on its own. Throughout the season, we see timelines getting deleted, Infinity Stones turning into meaningless rocks, and a hangry cloud monster that devours all matter. This leads us to the Citadel at the end of time, a big, scary castle with big, dramatic doors and a massive tension-building elevator. With the entire series building to this moment, Loki has reached the one pulling the strings behind the whole operation. The elevator doors open and Kang.
And see, Jonathan Majors is actually really great as an actor anyway, but he definitely epitomizes the role as Kang the Conqueror himself, so.
His Thanos' first reveal moment. And this isn't even a particularly violent Kang either. Sure, he's created a big brother organization run by puppets that prunes entire timelines, but he tells us that all of this is to keep his other more violent selves at bay.
If you think I'm even this way till you meet my variants.
With just one timeline, there's just one Kang, and he warns that his death is going to unleash a Pandora's box of crueler variants. So, of course, he dies, only to have everything start to unravel. Looking more broadly, right now the multiverse is in flux with movies like No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness. While Kang isn't connected to either of those events yet, those movies are already priming us for Kang's impending multiversal
It's setting it up,
We're
though.
starting
That's
to
the
learn
thing.
the rules and the dangers that accompany wild multiversal collisions, just like the Infinity Saga introduced us one by one to the powers and dangers of the individual stones via movies that were completely disconnected from Thanos. The Reality Stone in Thor 2, the Time Stone in Doctor Strange, the Tesseract in Avengers, the Power Stone in Guardians. That way, when everything comes together with
All
Kang, all the
individual
rule
stones.
setting and world building has already been done in previous movies. All of this means that, if we consult the handy-dandy story cheat sheet, the next time we'll be interacting with Kang will be the pinch points. And hey, wouldn't you know it, but we have 2 projects next year that have that pair of pinch points. One of these has to be Loki Season 2, due out mid-2023. This one's obvious because at the end of Season 1 of Loki, we see giant Kang statues in the new layout of the rebooted TVA. Safe to say that Kang is going to play a huge role in Loki's return, which means that there's going to be plenty of time to get those pinches in. But the other pinch point is going to come even sooner than that, with Quantumania's release in February of 2023, and that one is going to be the death pinch.
This is why.
And here's where the theory gets interesting. Loyal theorists, I submit to you Exhibit A, a minor leaked image from Quantumania's pre-production. These shirts were allegedly made for Quantumania stunt
This is what I was
team,
talking
depicting a
about, the broken Ant-Man helmet.
and the reflection of Kang the Conqueror ominously charging an energy blast. Now, third installments of MCU films historically end with the destruction of a hero's iconic equipment. Iron Man 3 had Tony hit the fireworks button on his whole iron closet, Captain America Civil War had Steve Rogers renounce his shield, and Thor Ragnarok shattered Mjolnir like it was made out of Lego. What this means is that Scott Lang might just be left to face the nearly immortal time demigod Kang with only his wits. And well, those aren't great odds. And I'm not the only one to notice the power imbalance here. Back in October of 2021, Jonathan Majors, actor for Kang the Conqueror, was interviewed on the late-night show Jimmy Kimmel. When he's questioned on how Ant-Man would possibly be able to contend with someone of Kang's power, we get this.
I saw the interview.
Ant-Man, but Kang, if Kang is a Thanos, yeah, it's like squash. Ant-Man's dead. We'll see.
Look at that face! Seems to me that Kimmel guessed right, and
Oh my
Majors
gosh.
gives him a little too much reveal. with
Oh,
that
his
facial
face said it all,
response.
though.
That,
Oh my
friends,
gosh.
is a man who has realized that Kevin Feige's snipers are on the way. So, from a narrative angle, it's the perfect time for Ant-Man to die. We have t-shirts from the production showing that Ant-Man is gonna get wrecked, and we have Kang's actor giving us some guilty vibes in interviews. But there's still
That
one
body
more piece of
language
evidence
is-
that you need
oh my
to
gosh,
see.
it's so on
Avengers
par.
number 500. The first part of
Avengers
the Avengers
Assemble.
Disassembled
That's a
comic
classic.
arc that brought about an end to the Avengers team. Spoiler alert, in this issue, Ant-Man dies. Now, admittedly, it isn't at the hands of Kang the Conqueror, but the ripple effects of his death end up playing an important role in both Kang's development and the evolution of the Avengers. You see, Scott Lang's death is very comic booky. He's killed when the zombie corpse of his best friend unexpectedly explodes.
Jack of
This all
Hearts.
turns out to be the result of a grieving Scarlet Witch inadvertently tampering with the fabric of reality. But it's not the how of this comic that's important, it's the why.
Why?
You see, Scott's death is incredibly important because it's the catalyst that sets in motion the formation of the Young Avengers. One of the key members is Scott's daughter, Cassie Lang, who is so moved by Scott's death that she takes up the Ant-Man legacy under the codename Stature and forms the team in order to avenge him. And hey, wouldn't you know it, but the Quantumania poster and footage from Comic-Con showed us that Cassie is gonna suit up just like her dad in the new movie. Doesn't hurt that the Cassie actress from Endgame also got recast with a bigger name too, without even telling said actress that she was being recast. Bad look there, Marvel. Bad look. Now, it's pretty clear that the Young Avengers are coming to the big screen. Nearly every Phase 4 property has introduced or will introduce a potential Young Avenger, many of whom are the founding members of the team in the comics. WandaVision gave us Billy and Tommy, aka Wiccan and Speed. Hawkeye gave us Kate Bishop. Loki opened the door for Kid Loki. Multiverse of Madness gave us America Chavez. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier gave us Patriot. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if Hulkling pops up in She-Hulk or Secret Invasion. Then you also have to consider the potential applications of Ms. Marvel and Ironheart, who are coming, and teens, and prime candidates for the MCU's Young Avengers lineup. Clearly, the building blocks for this team are being assembled. Now, we just need the event that gets them all together. Ant-Man's death, just like in the comics. But you want to know the real clincher? Kang is actually the first villain that the Young Avengers take on in the comics. It's only fitting that he play a role in their live-action debut. And to go even more subatomic on this theory, if Kang the Conqueror's run-in with Ant-Man goes as badly for Scott as I think it's gonna, that one kill doesn't just mold the villain that all these new heroes are gonna have to band together against in Phase 5, it's also gonna shape the entirety of Phase 6. What if, unlike Thanos, Kang gets a redemption arc and becomes a Young Avenger? You see, Kang has a zillion variants, but one of them is a Young Avenger. In fact, he's their first leader. A teen variant of Kang, going by the alias Iron Lad, forms the team in hopes that he can divert himself from growing up to become a megalomaniac that brings about the destruction of the multiverse. Iron Lad even has a close, sometimes romantic relationship with Cassie Lang in the comics. This poses an interesting conflict if Kang turns out to be the one to squash Ant-Man. At their core, the Ant-Man movies are thematically about second chances. Scott is an ex-felon who's given a second lease on life. Hank Pym gets a second chance at saving his wife Janet. The Ant family helps save and redeem Ghost in the second film. If Kang kills Cassie's father, she's put in a scenario where she may have to give her father's killer a preemptive second chance as well. So if Cassie chooses to forgive young Kang, that may be the push Iron Lad needs to avoid his dark future, saving the multiverse from adult Kang in the process. Or maybe the second chance Kang gets in Quantumania is at killing Scott. When they meet during the trailer shown at Comic-Con, Scott introduces himself to Kang as an Avenger. Kang's response, "You're an Avenger. Have I killed you before?" So when Ant-Man starts advertising itself like yet another quirky superhero comedy starring Paul Rudd, you'll know the truth. At some point, that thing is gonna take a serious turn and pull the rug out from under you, stomping the main man himself out of existence. Either that or, you know, Ant-Man shrinks himself and hops up Kang's. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. And I would not be surprised that it actually did happen because there's like so many jokes about Ant-Man shrinking and then going up inside Thanos too. I'm like, oh my gosh. But this is actually pretty accurate though. And like I said, with Kang being the next level threat next to Thanos in the next trilogies for the Avengers saga and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I mean, this is definitely going to be on par as far as like what's going to happen with Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Quantumania. I mean, it's totally accurate because, of course, it's also going to set up the Young Avengers team as well. Now, whether they'll be a part of Phase 5 or Phase 6, not quite for sure. I know X-Men is rumored to be part of Phase 6, but we won't know until D23 makes the announcement. But I believe X-Men won't be a part of Phase 6 for sure. But whether Young Avengers will be a part of it, we'll know for sure. But that's insane. That's like totally wild though. I think it's definitely going to be a ripple effect because like in the comics, like what happened in Avengers Disassembled, when Ant-Man actually does die, it pretty much disrupts the entire team. And of course, that was actually caused by Wanda because she was grieving the loss of her family. And if you think about it like this, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness actually does put elements of the House of M storyline and Avengers Disassemble at the same time because Wanda does snap after when she lost Billy and Tommy, who of course will become Wiccan and Speed in the comics, and they'll also be a part of the Young Avengers. So I think we'll definitely see Billy and Tommy return, and they're going to team up with Kate Bishop along with Kid Loki and Cassie and Patriot and America Chavez, and they'll form their own stable of Young Avengers. And it could be a mixture of the past Avengers and Young Avengers teaming up, and of course Spider-Man will be involved as well, and the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. So it's looking to be pretty phenomenal too. I mean, like I said, they have all the characters in the MCU. The only thing they don't have, of course, is the Spider-Man villains, which of course I believe eventually Marvel Studios will work out a deal to where they can pretty much get the rights back and get the Spider-Man villains and put them in the same universe as well. So, but only time will tell what's going to happen. Of course, time, pun intended, which is pretty much the whole element of why Kang is showing up in the first place. But it's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to see Kang the Conqueror. Jonathan Majors is my favorite actor. He's definitely on par with all of his stuff. He's great as Kang the Conqueror. I like him in all of his other movies too, but he definitely fits the role as Kang for sure. So he's been preparing for the role, and he did a really great job as He Who Remains, which is also a Kang variant in Loki Season 1, the season finale of Loki. So it's going to be intriguing. I can't wait. So yeah, but a part of me is kind of like worrying about what's going to happen with Paul Rudd, if this is actually going to be his finale, because he's been doing a really great job. But a part of me is kind of worried what's going to happen between Ant-Man or Janet Van Dyne or her father, Henry Pym. So I'm pretty concerned of what's going to take place, but it's going to be epic, that's for sure. I mean, like I said, Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, even though I'm pretty much naming those two out of chronological order because it's Infinity War and Endgame, but just those two movies alone was just definitely epic for sure. So I know Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars is going to be as epic as well, so I can't wait. But what do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Film Theory is always great, so I've actually been following Film Theories for years because he's done a really great job of dissecting and coming up with different theories of what's going to happen with all the movies in the future for sure. And this one, considering the fact that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is my favorite franchise and I love Marvel Comics, I mean, just being able to see all the heroes and villains coming together, it's definitely going to be an epic event for sure. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for your support. I'm going to do more film theories and coming up with my own ideas. So let me know what you guys think. I'm definitely offering some more suggestions as well. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for doing this, guys. Like, share, subscribe to my channel. I love y'all so much. Until then, Excelsior. I'll catch y'all in the next one.